Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, good afternoon. Today is the 25th of December in the year 2022, and we are enjoying our holy season together in Plum Village. And now we will listen to 3 sounds of the bell in order to come back to ourselves and come back to the sun and come back to the Sangha who is sitting here with us. Breathing in, I am alive. Breathing out, I smile to life, which is within me and around me. Dear Sangha, we come together in order to celebrate Christmas in Plum Village. And we may wonder why do we come to Plum Village to celebrate Christmas? And maybe we want to find a peaceful, joyful energy, which we cannot find out in the world. We want to spend a spiritual Christmas, a Christmas where we can renew our spiritual energy. At the time of the year when in Northern Europe it is very dark, we want to be able to touch those seeds of light in ourself. This year we decided that we will celebrate Christmas more simply in Plum Village, that we will not consume as much as maybe we did in past years. So we thought not so much of buying presents for each other, but making things ourselves. So this is a step that we're all trying to take in the present situation. How to consume less and how to be more happy consuming less, because sooner or later we will see that consumption is not what brings us true happiness. In this time of year, traditionally, people will eat more, maybe eat more fancy food. So this year, when I look at what I am eating, I feel that as I sit with my Sangha and my sisters to eat a meal at Christmas time, the most important thing is the fellowship, the brotherhood and the sisterhood, and the love that we feel around us. That is more important than whether the food is proper Christmas food or not, or what we consider in Europe to be proper Christmas food. When we can be nourished by the presence of our beloved community around us, that is the most fulfilling nourishment for us. So what is the spiritual meaning of Christmas in our time? And as I walked in the early morning to the meditation hall, or back from the meditation hall, when it's not quite light yet, with my mindful steps, I can be in touch with this season of the year. This season of the year when there are very few hours of light. And I can also be in touch with how my Western spiritual ancestors have practiced at this time of year. Because we have a long tradition of spirituality in Northern Europe, in the part of Europe that we are in. And we want to be able to touch that. Not only the practice that we've received from Thai, but the practice that we've received from Thai, we want to be able to use it in order to feel the spiritual energy of the land in which we are living at the moment. So when we take the mindful steps on this land, we can touch that energy that has been there for more than 1,000 years, or 2,000 years. And when we listen to the church bell, we can also touch that energy that has been there for since the time of maybe 1,500 years or more. And when we are able to combine our own ancestral spiritual path with the spiritual path that we have received from Thai and we have received from Plum village, then we feel very complete in ourselves as people who've been brought up in a Christian tradition. So one of the aspects of being together at Christmas is, as we said, a brotherhood, sisterhood. And brotherhood and sisterhood are a kind of love. Of course, we know that there are kinds of love which are true love and kinds of love which are not true love. And this is a time for us to look in to how we practice true love. So one thing that we have been taught for a very long time in Plum Village is that understanding is love. And you can say the other way around, love is understanding. Just like in the Heart Sutra we say this body is emptiness and emptiness is this body. And so we mean that in true love there is understanding, and in true understanding there is love. So if you have a breakthrough in your understanding, but in that breakthrough there is no compassion, there is no loving kindness, then it's not true understanding. And if you say you love someone very much, but you don't understand that person, it's not yet true love. So we need to ask how can we learn to understand more? How can we learn to understand those we love more? And this is a practice of communication, a practice of deep listening, and of loving speech. And at the new year we have a chance to do what we call beginning anew. Beginning anew in many aspects, but one of the aspects is to begin anew in our understanding of our loved ones, because we all have perceptions. We have perceptions about ourselves, and we have perceptions about other people, and those perceptions are not 100% correct. They may be 10% correct, they may be 60% correct, but not very often 80% or 90% correct, and never 100% correct. Because that is our human imperfection. We don't have correct perceptions. So those of you who came early this afternoon into the meditation hall, you had an opportunity to practice sending love to yourself. So breathing in, may I be happy, peaceful and light in my body and my spirit. So that is a chance to practice love for yourself. But if you have not understood yourself, is it possible to love yourself? Because we said that if you do not understand someone else, it's not possible to love them. So we have to ask the same about ourselves. Do I understand myself? Do I understand my body, my feelings, my perceptions, my mental formations, and my consciousness? Because if I can understand myself, then I can love myself better. Just like we said, we cannot 100% understand ourselves, but we can love and understand ourselves better. So that is the first thing we need to ask. And when we do this meditation for ourselves, may I be happy. It's not a matter of repeating words and hoping that when you say, may I be happy, enough times that you will be happy. The first thing that we have to do is understand that in us we really want to be happy. That is our deepest wish. I want to be happy. And we all have the right to be happy. And actually we all have the desire to be happy. But sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, I don't have the right to be happy. There are so many people in the world who are suffering, then I have to suffer too. But you want those other people in the world who are suffering to be happy, so you need to want yourself to be happy. And then you will have a happiness that if you have enough, it will overflow and it will come to the other people. So in the world, we really need people who have the capacity to be happy. But first of all, we have to recognize that is something I really want. And maybe for many years, we have been living in a situation where we are not really happy. And so we have forgotten what it feels like to be really happy. And that is why we need to come together with our Sangha. We need to come to Plum Village at Christmas time. And so we can feel the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the freedom that are essential for happiness. Freedom is an aspect of the spiritual path in all spiritual traditions. Freedom means freedom from our perceptions about the past, our perceptions about the future, and to be able to walk lightly on this earth in the present moment. That is a great freedom. In the Gospel, I think in the Gospel according to St. Luke, when Jesus has been born of some days, the mother and father have to bring the baby to the temple and make offerings. That is the custom in the Jewish tradition. And when they bring the baby to the temple, an old man, a prophet, also comes to the temple, feels as, I need to go to the temple. Something special will happen. And on going to the temple, he sees the baby Jesus. He takes the baby Jesus in his arms, and he says, I don't know what is in Aramaic, in Greek, Nuna apolis despota tondulonsu katotoremasu in Irene. Yeah. Now you let your slave go free. Now, O Master, you let your slave go free, according to your promise, your word, in peace. And now we always think that means that now God is allowing me to die because I have seen the baby Jesus, who will be a light for the Gentiles. A light for the Gentiles means the people who are not Jewish, and the glory for Israel, are the people who are Jewish. Yeah. So now I can die because I've seen that baby, which is the hope for the future. Yeah. So I think we can understand a little bit differently from that. Lure, it means very clearly to set free. And this is the image of the slave master, the master setting his slave free. So we need to ask ourselves, who is that? Who is that master? Who is the master that has stopped me from being free? And can I, at Christmas or any other time of the year, can I have the insight, can I see the newness which will set me free from that master? And in Buddhism we could say that master is our habit energies, our unwholesome habit energies. So before we said that understanding is love, and we could say the opposite. We could say that hatred is ignorance. It's not because people want to hate that they hate, but it's because of it is because of ignorance, because of the lack of understanding that we hate. And all of us in our store consciousness, we have the seeds of hatred. We have the seeds of violence. And though they don't manifest, they are there. And if we're not careful, then they will manifest. And we're very lucky that we have a practice so that we don't allow those seeds to manifest, the seeds of hatred, the seeds of violence to manifest in us every day. We know how to take care of them, how to handle them. But there are people who don't know how to do that. So when we suffer in our body, when we suffer in our mind, we always have the habit energy, we have the tendency to blame somebody for our suffering. We don't usually come back to ourselves and really look at our suffering to understand what its roots are. But automatically we start to look outside of us. Who is to blame for this suffering that I am going through now? And when we have that habit energy of looking for the person to blame, when we have discovered the person or the things that are to blame, and we can point at them, then we will start to feel angry with that person outside of us. We will start to hate that person outside of us. So that is why the Buddha talked about the Four Noble Truths and the first Noble Truth of suffering. It means that when the suffering arises in our body and in our mind, or usually body and mind, they go together, so the two things go together, then we come back and we look at that suffering and we feel we can stop, we can be with that suffering, we can accept that suffering, and we can find out what is the real root of my suffering. And then we will see that once we've understood our suffering, we are no longer ignorant about our suffering, then it's no longer suffering. It's a very different kind of suffering. It's a much lighter kind of suffering. So we all have the ignorance which causes us to blame someone outside of us for the unhappiness that we feel. And of course, in the world, there are people who have done things that have made others suffer, and we don't condone the things that they have done. But we see that by being angry with that person, by hating that person, it will not help. So in our own time, we are aware of the people who maybe we feel are most responsible for destroying the life on our planet Earth. And therefore we can feel angry with those people, we can feel hatred for those people. But that anger and that hatred does not help anyone. So we need to come back to ourselves, and we need to ask, what are the roots of destroying our environment? And obviously they are the methane gas, they are the nitrous oxide, they are the carbon dioxide that as a human species we emit. But what is at the root of this emission of these noxious gases? And we see that at the root there is ignorance, there is greed, there is hatred. So these are the things that we want to transform. And first of all, we want to transform them in ourselves. So in order to transform them in ourselves, we have to recognize that they are there. And we have to see when these mental formations of confusion, of hatred, of anger, when they begin to come up in us, we have to be able to recognize them. And it's not too late. If these seeds come up in us, we can always do something as a practitioner. Breathing in, I know that I am angry. I know that the seed of hatred is coming up in me. And breathing out, I smile to this seed. And then I know that I have to either do a sitting meditation or walking meditation in order to be able to take care of those seeds that are coming up in me. Because in our, what we call in Buddhism, our stored consciousness, we have all the seeds. We have all the seeds of compassion and love, as well as the seed of violence and hatred. And we need to be able to take care of those seeds. If you are a gardener, there are seeds that you don't want to grow in your garden. So you will pull them up. And there are seeds that you do want to grow in your garden. There are flowers. So what we do is to practice to be a gardener and to take care of the seeds that we have. Always aware that the seed of compassion, the seed of joy, the seed of happiness is there. We don't have to find it outside. And maybe that is one of our difficulties, that we look for the happiness from outside, and we forget that the happiness is in us. And that is why the Buddha has given us breathing exercises like breathing in, I experience joy. Breathing out, I experience happiness. Because you know, you have that Buddha nature that knows what real happiness is, what real joy is. And sometimes you have touched those real happiness, that real joy, but you didn't touch it for very long, and then it was gone. But that's good that you touched it, because now you know what it feels like, and in your meditation you can touch it again in order to make that seed, to water that seed in your consciousness. So we have a traditional song that we sing at Christmas in English. It's by Christina Rossetti. And the first verse is all about the snow and the very harsh conditions of winter in Northern Europe. Or I don't know how much longer we will enjoy those. At the moment in Canada, it is in parts of Canada, it is snowing. And these conditions those wintry conditions are part of Canadian life. And so one of our practitioners who is Canadian decided to change the words of this song, this traditional Christmas song. So the first verse is the same. It's all about the cold winter. And the second verse is about looking deeply, in order to be able to see what your eyes cannot see. And that is underneath all the snow, there are seeds of flowers. And there are roots of of flowers also. And when the causes and conditions are right, and the snow melts, of course those flowers will manifest. But do we have to wait until the snow melts in order to enjoy the flowers? With the eyes of a meditator, we can enjoy those flowers, and we can enjoy the perfume of the flowers, even when the snow is on the ground, because we can see that they are available. Although the causes and conditions are not right, they're still available. The potentiality is still there. And that potentiality is in our consciousness as well as in the earth under our feet, the snow under our feet. So we can be in touch with we learn to be in touch with the seed of love and the seed of compassion in ourselves. And as we said before, we do that by understanding ourselves. It's so necessary to understand. I want to be happy. I really want to be happy. I don't want to suffer. Although, according to Buddhism, we shouldn't wish that. Thai always says that suffering is good for us. But still, deep down inside of us, we have that habit that we want to be happy. And at the same time, we want other people to be happy. You don't want other people to suffer, so why should you want yourself to suffer? And of course, when suffering comes, which naturally it will do, then you know how to handle it with your practice of mindful breathing and mindful walking and looking deeply. So we have to see, I really don't want to suffer. I want to be free from accident. And when you see that, then you may begin to cry, because it's something you haven't seen for so long. You haven't allowed yourself to be happy for so long that you feel deeply moved when you can actually see that. And one of the marks of being successful in your practice of love meditation or compassion meditation is the tears that fall from your eyes. And when you've realized for yourself how much I long to be happy, and then you will be able to see how much the other person longs to be happy. And that person could be someone who makes you suffer, someone who has caused you a lot of unhappiness. And at first there is a real blockage of being able to wish that person could be happy. Because inside of us, when someone makes us suffer, we always have the habit energy. They have to suffer, and then they will know what it feels like to suffer, and they won't do it again. Yeah. But that is, in fact, wishing for someone else to suffer is not the way. That is not. Maybe they will learn from their suffering, but that is not what we want. We want them to be happy. And if you are able to cry when you see how much you need to be happy, when you see how much you have suffered, when you can feel that real compassion for yourself and cry, then you will be able to continue your meditation and see that that is true for that other person too. Because you have touched a seed of compassion in you, And therefore you can keep that seed alight. It's like when you light the fire, if you have the dry wood, you put some dry wood on the fire, then it will keep alight. And that dry wood is your compassion. So we were talking about this song, and I would like to ask for us to be able to listen to it. And I already asked one sister if she could organize for us to listen to that song. So I hope that my dear, we have some brothers too. So this is the song about taking care to be aware of the things you cannot see, but which are there, of the seeds you cannot see, which are there in your consciousness. So the meaning of this song in the Canadian version can also touch on the teaching of no birth and no death, because when our loved one does what we call dying, then we we feel that we cannot see them anymore. And with the reminder of this song, we can smell the fragrance of the flowers that are under the earth, and we can see the beauty of the flowers that are under the earth. So it is a reminder that when our loved one has passed away, we can still be in touch with them. We can still touch their fragrance. We can still touch their beauty. The other day I was looking at a photograph of my mother, and suddenly the sutra of Anuradha, I don't know if you know that sutra, when some ascetics come and ask the Buddha, ask the disciple of the Buddha, after the death of the Tathagata, does the Tathagata still exist? That's one proposition. Another proposition is after death, the Tathagata does not exist. And then there's some rather sophistical propositions. After death, the Tathagata both exists and does not exist. How that is possible, I don't know. And after death, the Tathagata neither exists or not exist. Yeah, that is a bit of Indian sophistry. So now we just look at the first two. And it's not only that we ask this question about the Buddha, we ask it about our loved ones who have passed away. After death, does she still exist? After death, does she not exist? So when I look at my mother photograph, so I have the tendency to ask her, does she still exist? And then I have the tendency to try and prove that she still exists. But then I look and I say, when that photograph was taken, did she exist then? Or did she not exist when the photograph was taken? And I cannot answer that question. Did she really exist when the photograph was taken? And now, after she, what we call died, she does not exist. So I see that my problem is that I am caught in existence and non-existence. I'm caught in the existence of my mother before she died and the non-existence of my mother after she died. And when we listen to this song, we don't talk about the existence and the non-existence of the flowers. We don't say now that the flower has died, it doesn't exist, and before it died, it did exist. The flower is a manifestation, the coming together of many causes and conditions, and the flower will manifest for us. And our mother or our loved one is also the same. When the right causes and conditions are there, then she manifests. And when they're not there, she doesn't manifest. But if she's not manifesting as a practitioner, I can look deeply and I can be in touch with a manifestation of my mother. Not the same manifestation necessarily as the one in the photograph, but that perfume, that beauty of the essence of the actions of my mother, I can always be in touch with. So the question of whether exist or not exist is a necessary question to ask. We can take a step beyond existence and non-existence. And when we take that step, we come into touch with the manifestation according to causes and conditions. And that is why when we know that we have no longer one manifestation, we may cry. And we have the right to cry. And in our crying there may be some regret that I did not do all I could for my mother when she was alive. It's not just crying because she doesn't manifest. It's crying because I can't do what I should have done, what I wanted to do. But in fact, you can do something. You can take up your pen, or you can sit mindfully somewhere and follow your breathing, and you can talk to your mother. And you can write to your mother if you want. And then you can express your whole heart of what you want to do for your loved one, and you haven't done yet. But that deep desire to act in that way is always there in you, and that deep desire to continue the beautiful actions of the loved one you have lost, so that that person is always manifesting in your consciousness whenever you do one of the beautiful actions of your loved one. It's like your mother has, if you have a mother like that, you have a mother who has a loving kindness. And whenever you practice loving kindness, then you are your mother continuing. And it's no longer a matter of exist or not exist. But this is very deep teaching, and it needs our attention. It needs us to practice in our sitting meditation and in our daily life in order to be able to go beyond ideas of existence and non-existence. And the same is true when you come back and look at yourself. Maybe you have the idea that in so many years I won't exist anymore, but now I am existing. But when you look deeply, you don't see that really now you are existing. There's no you there who's existing now. Every moment, what you call you is different from what it was in the last moment. The cells in your body are dying all the time, are being born all the time. So your body, you're not the same person as you were. And in what you call your body, there are also many things that are not your body, like the mitochondria and the bacteria. They don't have your gene, what you call your genes. So look deeply and see that what you call I am existing is not really existing. It is just manifesting at every moment in a different way according to the causes and conditions. And then you no longer be afraid of not existing. Today I was sitting in front of the fire. It was very interesting because the stove, it has a glass front, and I had my hands in front of the glass front, and so it looked as if my hands were in the fire, and the fire was burning my hands as well as the wood. Mm. And so at that time I thought, oh yeah, that is something real. That these, what I call these hands, one, sooner or later they will be in the fire and they will be burning. Mm. And that is also meditation to see that yes, they are burning, but they are not becoming nothing. The earth element, the water element, the air element, all in these hands, it will continue in different forms, and so there's no idea of not existing. It's just an idea of manifesting in different ways. So Thai always told us that to be able to let go of the idea of birth and death is the true work of a practitioner. And when we can do that, we have no more fear, because our basic fear is a fear of not existing. And when we have no more fear, then we will be of great benefit to our human species. But one person waking up is not enough. One Buddha is not enough. And we know that what we need in order to help the human species to go on a little bit longer, life on the planet to go on for longer, is we need a collective awakening. And as an individual, we contribute to that collective awakening. As a sangha, a building sangha, we help share the teachings of awakening with the other people. And so sangha building is a very important task towards the collective awakening of our human species. And collective awakening doesn't mean that we want everyone to become a Buddhist, everyone to become a practitioner of Plum Village. Thai was very concerned with global ethics and a global spirituality. And Thai always said that Thai is ready to let go of being a Buddhist, because you cannot really let go of being a Buddhist except if on a form you're asked to write what is your religion, you can write down Buddhism, but when you really practice Buddhism, you may be a Christian. Thai tell the story of a practitioner in Germany, and he was Christian practitioner, and he came into touch with Thai's teachings, and he felt, oh, that is my way. Thai's teachings are my way. And then he wrote a letter to Thai, and he said, Dear Thai, after being in touch with your teachings, I realized that as a Christian practitioner, there is an upstairs and a downstairs in your house. And that is, the downstairs is your everyday life, and the upstairs is your spiritual life. But in Christianity, they don't give us a staircase to go between the upstairs and the downstairs. But you, Thai, you have given me that staircase. So I want to become a disciple of yours, a student of yours, and I will leave the church or something like that. So Thai wrote back and said, dear friend, now you have found the staircase, please don't leave the church. It's very important that you remain a Christian practitioner, but you use the staircase in order to go from downstairs to upstairs. And then Thai said that when we see that our house doesn't have a staircase, the thing to do is to build a staircase in our house and not to sell our house and leave our house. So that is Thai's always encouragement, that we do not leave our roots, and we find a way, like we said at the beginning, that we combine our roots with what we are, with the new things that we have learned, and then we can be of benefit as far as a global spirituality is concerned. Of course, we have to see what it is that Buddhism can contribute to a global spirituality. And many of the deep teachings on no being and no non-being, they have already been touched in Christianity to a certain extent by certain mystics, but they are not very widespread. And once we have touched those teachings deeply for ourselves, then we are able to convey, to help other people to touch those teachings also, whatever tradition we happen to be in. So this is the second point that we need to know about understanding. Boundless, that it has no limit, that understanding has no limit. One time Thai said to me, Chan Duc, is there such a thing as Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? So of course I say, oh, Kosa is Thai, it always mentioned many times in the sutra. And Thai said, no. Thai doesn't believe in this highest. Nothing higher, the understanding than which there's nothing higher. The highest understanding. And Thai said, no, there isn't the highest understanding. It's like you have the highest, it must be on a scale somewhere, huh? So you get to when you have the idea of high, you have to have the idea of low, and the higher, 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 highest, and then there's no more after that. Yeah. So Thai said that in Thai's experience, understanding is not like that. Understanding is always new. And even if you live for 100 years, you never reach the highest understanding. But understanding is boundless. So every time you have a deep understanding, a deep insight, is something new. And it takes you a little bit further. It's like if you have the ladder and then you get to the 4th rung and you say, okay, that's as far as I need to go, then your practice cannot continue to deepen. So when we talk about perception and wrong perception, and when you are considering beginning anew with someone you have either by writing a letter or by meditating or by actually sitting with that person, you have to realize that my understanding of that person is by not the highest understanding, and that this is an opportunity for me to expand my understanding, to open up my understanding and open up my heart to learn something new about this person. And while learning something new about that person, you are also learning something new about yourself. But before you decide to write to or to sit with someone you have had a difficulty with for a very long time, be a little bit careful, because you need to be ready and you need to have prepared yourself. So you need to know that you have enough compassion for that person. If you decide that you will write a letter to or do beginning anew with someone you had a difficulty for a long time and you still do not feel any compassion for that person, it's too soon. But of course, when you do sit with that person, your compassion will grow and grow. But you need to have the seed of compassion already sprouted for that person. So writing a letter in the first place can just be writing a letter of the good memories you have with that person. Because your relationship was not always difficult. There was a time when it wasn't difficult. And so you go back to that time when it wasn't difficult. And you recount for the other person to hear those memories you have when things were going well. You don't say anything else about the times that did not go well. That is something that you will work out later as your understanding of each other grows deeper. Then you can go into the difficult things later. So to recap, if we want to love someone, we need to understand them. But first of all, we need to love ourselves. We need compassion for ourselves. So that means we need to face our own suffering and give rise to the compassion. And our own suffering, it may not be just our own. It may very well be our ancestors' suffering. So I think when you see that this suffering isn't just my suffering, it's also my ancestors', it's very easy to feel compassion, because you feel compassion for what your ancestors had to go through. So that is the next thing. And then we need to be able to be in touch with, to be able to feel those things which are not immediately visible to us. We need to be able to be in touch with things that are not manifesting in the way that we are used to them manifesting, so that we can see them manifest in their new way. And finally, whatever understanding, whatever breakthrough, whatever insight you have, it is not the ultimate. Life is, we are ready to learn throughout our lives. I think Mahatma Gandhi also said that. Mahatma Gandhi, older he gets, the more he has understanding. So thank you for being with us, and very happy Christmas, Sangha Christmas to everyone, or family Christmas if you're with your family, and happy continuation in the practice in the year to come, many years to come.